I play smarter. I invest with Morning Line. You build your stable. When they race, you earn. Buy, sell, trade, anytime. Morning Line. Own the game.
Hi, everyone. David Aragona and Mike Beer here taking a look at the first of the 14 Breeders' Cup races that will be run across Friday and Saturday at Del Mar. Race 6 on that Friday card is the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. This one, a 5-furlong dash for the 2-year-olds around one turn over that Del Mar turf course. And with the Breeders' Cup right around the corner, you definitely want to get a leg up on your handicap, and you can do so with our Breeders' Cup packages at DRF. You can save $38 of the value of everything included in both of these packages, the players package and the VIP package, the latter of which is where you get those clock reports that can be such an invaluable resource in handicapping these Friday and Saturday cards. Mike Welsh and his team, not just doing write-ups on the Breeders' Cup horses, the full cards will have reports on how these horses are working coming into the Friday and Saturday races at Del Mar. Find out more information at shop.drf.com or by using that QR code on screen. Mike will throw up the oversubscribed field of 17 that was entered for this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Only 12 will participate. That is the maximum number allowed to race over the 5-furlong distance at Del Mar. And this is a pretty wide open affair, Mike. I do think we're going to have a clear favorite in here in the number 9, True Love, who's got Group 1 form from overseas for Aidan O'Brien. But this is the kind of race where we've seen some chaos occur in the past.
Yeah, it's just one of those races where, especially when you get a full gate of 2-year-olds in a race like this, trips just are really, really important. And it makes it a little bit more difficult to take a short price on anybody. But it's just a super interesting race, David. I mean, half the field is in from Europe, 6 of the 12, the other 6 based here stateside. And there's a lot to like about several of these horses.
Yeah, evenly split between the Americans and the Euros. And that's kind of how this race has gone over the 7 years that they've run it. The first 4 editions were won by Americans, but each of the last 3 editions of the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint have been won by the Europeans. So maybe they've unlocked the keys to winning this race. We'll see if they can do it again. They do have 6 in here. There's not going to be any pace projector for this race because, as Mike was alluding to, 6 of the runners don't have U.S. or North American pace data being based overseas. But, Mike, I don't think it's any mystery who's going to wind up on the lead here if he breaks cleanly. That's the number 11 Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I mean, he's shown a good amount of speed in his 2 starts so far, David. He's got an outside gate here. It doesn't really seem like it gives him that many options in this race. They just got to come out of their running and see if they can clear.
Let's go through this field from the rail out, beginning with the number 1 Brussels, one of 3 Aidan O'Brien trainees that's been entered in this race. And this one will be the mount of Christophe Soumillon, who I think some people expected to wind up on the more fancy True Love. He's not riding that horse because he couldn't make the weight or didn't want to make the weight on True Love. So that's why he is going to be on Christophe Soumillon will be on Brussels in this race, probably the second string of the Aidan O'Brien trio. And Mike, this is a horse that tried some longer distances, 6.5, 7.5 furlongs through the middle of his 2-year-old campaign over in England, and they've steadily cut him back in distance over his last few starts. And I think it's worked for him because when you watch some of his longer races, he was kind of making a move with a furlong to go and then not finishing. And he finished a little better in that Group 3 Cornwallis last time. Still couldn't quite seal the deal. And I worry that this horse just lacks a little bit of heart when I watch his replays.
Yeah, I'm worried about that too. You understand why they thought maybe longer was going to be better too. He's sort of a bigger, good-looking kind of horse, and he's got the pedigree to suggest that he probably wants more distance, but it just hasn't worked out that way for him on the track. I actually, he's coming up short, and I don't think you're going to find a lot of excuses for him when you go back and watch a lot of these races. But since he's won his debut, he's over 5 since then, David. I think he's run well in all of those races. He just happened not to come out on top. I don't love him in here, but I also feel like there's a chance he really gets overlooked in this race, and I don't think he's impossible.
Yeah, being that impressive physical that Mike was describing, I wonder how he's going to handle the 5 furlongs around a turn at Del Mar. We'll see. He is breaking from the rail. The number 2 Military Code, I found to be a tough call in this race, Mike, because these connections have won this race before. I believe they were the first connections to win it coming over from Europe with horse Mischief Magic, I think 3 years ago now. And Military Code, a horse who hasn't quite proven himself at the Group 1 or Group 2 level overseas, but he definitely likes this 5 furlong distance. He's kind of got this, every other pattern coming into this race where he would throw in a bad effort, then run well, bad effort, then run well. Reading some of the time form comments, which you can access in the time form USPPs, they indicated that he's a horse that sometimes can come undone before his races. He tends to sweat up. That happened two back. He also was sort of on the wrong part of the straightaway course two back when he got pushed out by a rival. I did think he ran better last time against a good rival in Revival Power. And he's the kind of horse that if the pace does heat up on the front end, he's got a closing style that could fit this race pretty well.
That's what I liked about him too. I think he can get the right trip in this race, assuming he can work some kind of a clean run there from somewhere off the pace. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad that you sort of put it the way I was going to put it. I thought he was the toughest call of the Europeans because I really do like some of his races. When he got beat in that close photo three back, I didn't love the ride that Buick gave him that day. And I feel like he was probably best on the day there, and he just wound up getting run down at the end. I thought he ran really well last time behind a wire-to-wire winner as well. This horse can win this race, and he might be a fair price as well.
The number 3, Royal Testament, one of the fillies facing the males in this race. And Mike, she's run pretty well in her last 3 starts. I mean, she was a visually impressive maiden winner at Monmouth 3 back, then beat a group of males in the Rosie Stakes at Colonial Downs, where it's not like there was nothing behind her there, and she absolutely smashed them on that occasion. She came back in the matron last time. They stretched her out to the 6 furlongs there. And while she didn't have trouble per se, it wasn't an ideal trip because she was 4 wide, 3 wide around the turn. And then, that was a race where the winner saved ground and ankled out. Third place finisher rode the rail every step of the way. So I can make a minor excuse for the trip that she got last time. But even more than that, I think she's going to appreciate cutting back to the 5 furlongs here and don't want to ignore the fact that she's getting a rider upgrade to Flavien Prat, who might be able to work on a really good pocket trip for her in this race.
I like the distance part of it that you were talking about as well, too, David. I mean, you're right. She was sort of stuck outside the entire way in the matron. I didn't love her performance there, but it was 6. And I can see dropping back to 5 really working for her. We'll see what kind of trip she gets in this race because I do feel like she's sort of wants to be involved early. And I'm not sure that that's going to be a great trip for her in a race like this one. But I just didn't want to knock her too hard because I did like her 2 wins when they came back from that short layoff earlier this year. And it does feel like she's probably going to be double-digit odds in here.
You know the thrill of picking a winner. But instead of just running to the window for a quick payout, I play smarter. I invest with Morning Line. Morning Line is a more sophisticated way to use your skill and bankroll without putting it all at risk. Build your stable. When they race, you earn. Buy, sell, trade, anytime. Keep the action rolling without burning your bankroll. This is playing the ponies, elevated like a boss. Morning Line. Own the game.
The number 4, Aspect Island, is also coming out of that Group 3 Cornwallis Stakes that Brussels was second in. Aspect Island was third there at a pretty big price, went off at 20-1. And Mike, I can make the argument that even though he was defeated by Brussels, he might have run just as well as that horse because he was chasing one of the favorites in there who had, I think, Group 1 credentials coming into that race and put that horse away, got kind of swarmed at the end. Brussels got past him, another closer did to win the race, but he hung in pretty gamely for third, and he just feels like a really progressive sort who has been improving by leaps and bounds over his last 3 starts.
Yeah, we'll see and I also think it's fair to point out too that maybe just going a little bit shorter recently has really helped turn his form around a little bit. We'll see. I am not sold on him yet. He's another horse I don't really want to take some huge stand here, David. He seems like he's going to be a huge price in this race, but when he won 2 starts back on soft ground, I just thought he got a super soft trip in that race. They never really challenged him, and he just got away with a really slow pace and sprinted home. And, listen, he ran well last time, but I thought he had every chance to win and just really wasn't quite good enough.
He is a horse that wants to be forward, and that can be a tough trip for the Euros to pull in this kind of race. The number 5, Obliteration, looked so talented on the dirt earlier in his career this summer at Saratoga, won the Sanford by over 10 lengths, then came back and lost to a good horse or a very highly regarded horse at the time in Ewing and the Saratoga Special as those two put on a show that day. And that kind of surprisingly went to the turf after that. And while he's run just fine in the last couple of turf races, Mike, I don't get the sense that he got any better on the turf. And I just don't see the natural ability at this stage of his career that's going to make him beat a field like this on the grass.
I have the same concerns that you do. I mean, he's run okay, I guess, in the 2 turf races, but it's not like he's run great. We have the first 4 finishers from that Indian summer at Keeneland back in this spot. And it's just not a race that I like overall, David. I didn't see a real excuse for this horse.
The number 6, Intricate Spirit, has won a grade 3 race last time out in the Futurity, going the 6 furlong distance, and he'll be cutting back to the shortest distance of his career in this 5 furlong Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Let's take a look at the video of that Futurity, where all in all, Mike, I thought this horse got a very good trip. They kind of taught him to rate early by taking back to let that Wesley Ward runner clear off in front. They came back around him, ran that horse down to the late stages. This was a race that was almost totally dominated on the front end by the 2 pace setters. So I wonder if he's going to be able to get quite as forward cutting back to the 5 furlongs here, but it's not like this horse has done much wrong in 3 starts.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not like I think my biggest knock on him at this stage of the game, Dave, is I just think the Futurity was kind of a bad field, and he got the job done in there. But otherwise, I kind of really like everything that he's done. His debut was really impressive, I thought. Even if he wasn't the finished article in there, he still looked really green to me, but I liked the way that he finished that race off. They took him to Kentucky Downs for a second start. He ran fine in there against a horse who actually, Street Beast, who might be underrated. Well, I guess we'll find out more about him later on the Friday card. I don't know, man. He's got speed, but maybe he doesn't need the lead. He's probably not going to take a ton of money in here. I'm not leaving this horse out.
The number 7, Mission Central, could be the biggest price of the 3 Aidan O'Brien trainees in this race, even though he's coming off a pretty highly rated win a couple of weeks ago at Ascot, where he was going the 6 furlong distance. And Mike, I think the distance is the big question mark with this horse, because he tried to cut back to 5 furlongs a couple of times overseas, just kind of got run off his feet in those races. And he feels like one where maybe 6 is the minimum distance, and he might even want to go a little farther in the future. So I'm surprised that Aidan brought him for this race. And I mean, he'll be a big price. So I don't want to knock him too much. I just wonder if this is the right spot for him.
Yeah, I couldn't convince myself that he was good enough. One of the things that I did notice about him, though, is, and you're right to point out the 5 furlong race too, Beck. It seemed like they didn't really send him in that race, though, and he wound up behind a wire-to-wire winner in there. But his other races, this horse is fast, man. He gets out of the gate pretty well, and he is fast. I'm going to expect him to be part of the pace of this race.
The number 8, Havana Anna, has really not run a bad race in her career, especially over the last 5 when she's lost. She's been barely beaten. She fights hard, doesn't go down without a fight. And that was the case last time in the Group 1 at Cheveley Park, where she was beaten by the likely favorite, True Love. And, Mike, there's a real size difference between these 2 horses when you watch them. Havana Anna is small, compact. She's got that really quick action that makes you think that she wants to go as short as they write races. And you can kind of see it in her record, where she is a real 5 furlong specialist. And she's one that can get held up and finish pretty well. So this race could fit her very well.
Yeah, like the trip that maybe she projects to pull here, because she's very handy. She has speed, but she's a very handy horse and will sit behind rivals before she makes a run. I mean, listen, going back to the Cheveley Park last time, she was only second best to True Love in there, but she ran pretty well in her own right. And as you've pointed out, that was 6 furlongs. This is 5. It could really work to her advantage. All of her other races are good, David. She did her first 2 starts against real good company, and she ran both times. 2 blowout wins after that. To me, and when they sent her to France 2 back, she was best in that race and did not get a particularly good ride, and it got her beat at the end. I think she's underrated.
The number 9, True Love, was the winner of the Group 1 Cheveley Park, where she defeated Havana Anna over the 6 furlong distance at Newmarket last time. And when she's good, Mike, she is really good, as in 3 back, when she defeated subsequent 2-time Group 1 winner Puerto Rico in that Railway Stakes. Now, those big victories did come over 6 furlongs. And while she was a 5 furlong winner of the Queen Mary, where she actually defeated Lennilu, who she'll line up against here, I think the distance around a bend at Del Mar is a bit of a question for her, especially considering that as much success as Aidan O'Brien has had bringing 2-year-olds to the Breeders' Cup, he hasn't really had success in this particular race.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, they're all very valid things to point out, especially for a horse who's probably going to go favored in this race. I don't really have any knocks on her form. She's looked really good winning her races. In particular, the Queen Mary, which was the 5 furlong distance. I thought she ran great in that race. 2 back when she lost at a short price. She did have some trouble at the start of there. I'm not sure how much of an excuse I wanted to give her. She did have trouble at the start of that race, though. So maybe that's enough of an excuse for her. She's really good. I think she's the most likely winner of this race. I'm not terrified to bet against her, because I think there's some real quality outside of her in this field.
It's such a wide open race. Your inclination is not to settle for one of the shorter prices. The number 10, Cy Fair, another filly facing the males in here. And Mike, she's looked really good across her 3 starts. She could not have been much more impressive when she won her debut race at Saratoga by open lengths. And kind of surprising that she lost after that in the Bolton Landing. She was forward there and got run down at the end by a horse who came with a big late finish. They tried out different tactics in this race that we'll take a look at up at Woodbine when she prepped for this against males in the Algonquin Stakes over the 5 furlong distance, took her right back to last at a small field, peeled around into the clear at the top of the stretch, and boy, did she show off a turn of foot to put this field away. And if she runs this well back in this race, she might be the one to beat.
She might be. I mean, I don't know, man. Maybe she's beating nothing in this race that we're watching right now. But even if she is, that's how you want to see her do it. Just swinging her to the outside and just steamrolling those horses. And as you've already pointed out, I mean, her debut was a serious performance for a 2-year-old first-time starter. I know she got beat second out, but I thought that she ran very well in that race and just got beat by a perfect trip winner. I don't know. I think she's super dangerous in here.
The number 11, Schwarzenegger, probably going to be the pace setter in this race. He's got a ton of early speed. He just busts out of the gate, and he is a hard horse to rate. John Velasquez had a tough time just getting him to ration out his speed in his first couple of starts, and it was a real problem on debut at Saratoga, where not only did he run off, but kind of blew the turn coming into the stretch that day. Mike, this horse got the job done in the Indian Summer last time. We could take a look at the replay of the race. As you said, a few horses coming back out of the Indian Summer into this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, and while the margin of victory for Schwarzenegger was only a half length at the end, I did feel like he ran by far the best race of anybody coming out of here. And Mike, maybe it's as simple as him coming back to 5 furlongs is just going to make him an even more impressive winner, because he's got so much early speed and feels like the longer they go, the worse he gets. So is 5 furlongs at Del Mar perfect for him?
Yeah, I could see a fast 5 furlongs being perfect for this horse. I mean, if I wanted, everything to be perfect for him, I would say, maybe you'd have a different post here than post 11, having to try to clear this field from the outside. But he's just really, really fast. And I'm with you on the Indian. I don't like the Indian Summer necessarily as a race overall, but he's the only horse that I'm taking out of there. Even his debut, he was best on debut, even though he got beat.
One thing I will say about the 5 furlongs at Del Mar is these are races that can come apart. Speed doesn't go gate to wire in these races as often as you might think. The number 12, Lennilu. Mike, I think of all the horses that drew tough posts in here, she's the one that's most negatively affected, because not only is she stuck out in post 12, but she's stuck out there as a horse who wants to be up in a stalking position, and it just feels like she's almost going to have to go wide into the turn here, but she does have real ability. We'll take a look at her most recent start when she won her prep for this down at Gulfstream in the Hollywood Beach, and she went after a fast horse in the early stages, put that one away, wins off by open lengths here, and she has gone 4 for 4 in her starts in this country. They shipped her over to Royal Ascot this summer in June, where she raced against True Love, and she was not disgraced against that foe on that one's home turf. So she's really good. I just don't really see the trip coming for her here.
I don't either, and I think it's really unfortunate for her connections that she drew out there. We'll see what she can work out, because I'm with you. I think she's pretty talented. I mean, I guess her best hope here, David, is that Schwarzenegger really is on ascend here, right to her inside, and she can just sort of follow him maybe into the race and sort of get herself right up close. If she can get that kind of a trip, I think she can win.
Well, before we get to our top picks for this race, we wanted to remind everybody that you can unlock access to some of racing's most coveted bloodlines, mares and colts connected to championship pedigrees. Morningline.io is a private SEC-regulated marketplace where approved participants can trade a licensed interest in elite racehorses. No ongoing costs. Build your stable only at morningline.io. Mike, let's throw up our picks for this Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. And I see that we both got some respect for the Euros. You probably have a little more, putting the number 8 Havana Anna on top, and I agree, this 5 furlongs at Del Mar could hit her right between the eyes.
Yeah, I just like everything about her here, and I do think she can get the right trip in this race. I just think she's a really nice fit here, and one who's probably not going to take too much money. I think it is important to wait and see how they bet the race before you make a final decision, but I'm just hoping that she's a fair price. I want her on top. I almost put Cy Fair on top in this race too, David. I have a lot of respect for her. We'll see what kind of price she settles at. This is a wide open race. It's really, really fun race, but I do like the 8.
Yeah, it's a really fun betting race to kick off this 14-race Breeders' Cup Series. And I also have a lot of respect for Cy-Fair. I put her second as well, and I thought about picking her too. I just thought the other George Weaver trainee, the number 3 Royal Testament, was going to be a much better price. I could see her working out a very good trip from this post, and I think she's a little underrated coming in here. 3-10-2-8 for me, and 8-10-9-6 for Mike in race 6 at Del Mar on Friday, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Good luck if you're playing the races at the Breeders' Cup this weekend.